that Justin Gaethje defeated Ilia Topuria. Who is he going to fight next? That is indeed, if Justin Gaethje continues to fight, we don't know. That's still up in the air. One would expect, though, that he will, because the man is a fighter. And you know what?
The contract is finalized, and the waiting game is officially dead. Dana White has seen more than enough. Millions of fight fans have been pleading for pure chaos, and the lightweight division is about to host its most explosive, violent train wreck yet. Justin Gaethje going toe-to-toe with Arman Tsarukyan is no longer just internet fantasy. It is officially locked in as the ultimate showdown for the BMF title holder. After months of radio silence, the UFC brass finally dropped a bombshell announcement that perfectly aligns the stars at 155 pounds. This isn't just another high-level sports match. This is a brutal changing of the guard or a legendary defense of a blood-soaked throne. Every single power broker in Las Vegas knows the implications. This is the massive money fight the entire MMA community has been begging to see, and the official confirmation is tearing through the combat sports world right now.
There's one guy sitting there. We all know who I'm talking about. It was on the thumbnail. That man is, of course, to many people, the uncrowned champion, which I don't know about that, by the way. But his name is Arman Tsarukyan. When Arman Tsarukyan made his UFC debut in 2000...
Let's look at the champion. Justin Gaethje currently stands at the absolute peak of his combat sports journey, carrying a legendary resume that leaves almost every fighter on the roster completely envious. From winning interim gold to earning the undying respect of every single killer he has ever shared an octagon with, the man has conquered the sport. But it's his status as the BMF champion that completely altered the landscape. It transformed him into the definitive gatekeeper of combat sports greatness. Gaethje doesn't step into the cage to edge out point victories on a judge's scorecard. He fights to steal the very soul of his opponent. Every single time he walks through those cage doors, the entire sports world freezes just to witness the absolute carnage he guarantees. He has survived deep, dark psychological storms that would completely shatter ordinary athletes. Now he stands at the defining crossroads of his entire career. The target on his back is massive, and trust me, he knows the young wolves are circling.
Islam Makhachev, a really tough test. It went the distance. It went over 3 rounds, and it was a close, competitive grappling affair. It was a phenomenal matchup, and then since then, Arman Tsarukyan has gone through everyone except Mateusz Gamrot. That's the only other person to beat him by decision, and that also was a phenomenal display of grappling capability on both sides, right?
But there is a terrifying shadow hanging over the lightweight landscape, and it's a threat that even Gaethje cannot ignore for much longer. While casual fans keep tossing around names like Paddy Pimblett or a massive Makhachev rematch, the hardcore fight junkies already recognize the truth. There is only one real threat left standing. One man who has been systematically dismantling the absolute elite of this division with cold, calculated, and almost surgical efficiency. He is the boogeyman that the rest of the division actively avoids calling out. He's the monster lurking in the rankings, patiently waiting for a shot to violently rip the crown off the head of a legend. This isn't even about a standard title shot anymore. This is about pure destiny. We are witnessing the inevitable collision of two unstoppable forces that simply cannot coexist in the same division.
He feels like he is not healthy enough to compete.
And all this stuff kind of went against him, okay? Now, listen.
That man is Arman Tsarukyan, a fighter whom countless industry insiders already view as the uncrowned champion of the world. From the exact moment he stepped into the octagon, he carried an undeniable aura of inevitability that almost no one else can match. He doesn't just win fights. He physically and mentally breaks his opponent's will to compete. Whether he's using his elite-level wrestling or a striking game that somehow keeps getting sharper by the day, Arman is the total package. Now, the path has finally cleared for him to test his skills against the single most dangerous man in his division. He isn't just another standard contender waiting in a long line. He is a literal force of nature that has been building unstoppable momentum for years. At this point, the UFC hierarchy has absolutely no choice but to acknowledge his undeniable claim to the throne.
Paper, he is rightly the number one contender. According to the rankings, he's the number one contender. If Justin continues to fight, then he's going to fight the number one contender. He's already fought Paddy Pimblett, and of course, if Benoit Saint-Denis gets through Paddy, yeah, there's maybe a possibility for that. All right, do you want to perform or do you...
Let's rewind for a second, because to truly understand this monster's hype, you have to look at where his journey started. Trust me, Arman was handed zero favors on his way into the UFC. His debut was a literal baptism by fire, getting thrown straight into the deep end against the future pound-for-pound king himself, Islam Makhachev. The vast majority of fighters would have completely crumbled under that immense pressure. But Arman did the absolute unthinkable. He pushed the Dagestani powerhouse to his absolute limits in a high-speed grappling war that remains one of the toughest, most competitive fights of Islam's entire career to this day. That was the exact night the world realized this kid was cut from a completely different cloth. It wasn't just a standard loss on his record. It was a massive statement to the world that he belonged right there at the top of the food chain, and he has been validating that point ever since that fateful night back in 2019.
Tsarukyan has been doing a great job of staying in the public eye, okay? He's building an immense fan base, okay? And people want to see him get what he deserves, certainly being on a 5-fight win streak and becoming a bit of a media darling, okay? Him and Nina Drama are flying all over the world. He's going to watch.
And since that razor-thin loss, Tsarukyan has been on an absolute tear, proving over and over that his debut was no fluke. He's been a relentless wrecking machine, stringing together a massive winning streak that includes some of the biggest names in the entire business. He didn't just squeak by elite contenders like Dan Hooker and Beneil Dariush, he completely dominated them. Every single victory served as another loud, undeniable message to the UFC brass that he belonged at the absolute top of the mountain. Now, he stands tall as the official #1 contender in the world. His resume speaks for itself, forged through some of the toughest, most brutal tests the 155-pound division has to offer. The man is more than ready for the bright lights of a massive pay-per-view main event.
He's become quite the online sensation, of course, flying around the world in private jets and eating crazy amounts of caviar and stuff like that. He's a very interesting guy. His father is a very wealthy man, and he lives a very, very glamorous lifestyle, okay? But
when you look at what he does inside the octagon, the matchmaking logic on paper is completely bulletproof, and Dana White understands that better than anyone. If Justin Gaethje wants to continue carrying the BMF crown, he has to face the absolute best available challenger. The time for excuses is completely over. You simply cannot claim to be the baddest man in the entire sport while avoiding the #1 ranked killer in your own division. The official rankings exist for a clear reason, and right now, those rankings point directly toward a violent collision course between these two savages. This is the exact kind of high-stakes fight that defines an entire calendar year. This has nothing to do with matchmaking politics anymore. This is about the fundamental code of the UFC. The champion fights the absolute best, and right now, the best is undeniably a hungry, dangerous young lion named Arman Tsarukyan.
Turning things around. So Justin Gaethje, never mind Ilia Topuria. I guarantee Justin Gaethje is going to need a little bit of time for his body to heal up. His ribs have got to be absolutely killing him, right? Tossing and turning every night in bed. I bet they are sore. But when he recovers and he thinks about fighting again, the one name that I think he will want to fight, because Justin is the...
Now here's the thing. The road to this massive clash hasn't exactly been a smooth one for Arman. He has transformed into a total lightning rod for controversy, a guy who somehow generates more headlines outside the cage than he does inside it. From his viral altercations with fans during his cage walkouts to those blunt, completely unfiltered media interviews, he is an absolute PR nightmare for some executives and a pure marketing dream for others. He has zero interest in playing the role of the humble, soft-spoken athlete. He wants to be a global superstar, and he is more than willing to play the villain to get there. That unpredictable streak adds a fascinating extra layer of danger to his persona. making every single one of his public appearances absolute must-watch television. With a guy like this, you genuinely never know if he's about to start a brawl or finish a fight.
So Arman Tsarukyan, for my money, he's got to be the next guy, right? He still wants to fight. He was meant to be the backup fighter, granted, but he chose to go to RAF, and that could, hold him back a little bit, but it shouldn't. He should be the guy that is...
And look, you've got to remember that shocking moment when he actually struck a fan on his way down to the octagon. That wild incident sent massive shockwaves rippling through the entire MMA community, threatening to completely derail his championship momentum. Half of the sport was calling for immediate suspensions, while the other half absolutely loved the raw, unpredictable energy he was injecting into the show. It is that exact edge, that highly dangerous, unscripted quality that makes a showdown against Gaethje so unbelievably compelling. You are dealing with two men who genuinely do not care about the consequences of their actions once those stadium lights go down. They are both highly combustible elements, and when they finally collide in the center of that cage, the explosion is going to be felt all across the sporting world. Then, of course, you have all the chaotic drama surrounding his missed opportunities for a title shot against Islam Makhachev. Arman was ready as the official backup fighter, waiting right there in the wings, but the chaotic reality of the sport derailed those plans. Severe rumors started circulating about his health, and whether he had actually turned down the championship opportunity on short notice. All of that backstage drama created immense friction between his team and the UFC hierarchy. For a brief moment, it genuinely felt like the promotion might punish him by pushing him all the way to the back of the line. But his elite fighting talent is simply too massive to ignore for long. He successfully navigated those treacherous political waters and emerged on the other side as the definitive frontrunner. He proved he won't be bullied by the system, and that level of defiance makes him a highly fascinating character. But let's bring the focus right back inside the octagon, because that is where the real story gets written in blood. Justin Gaethje is currently battling back from what can only be described as a brutal physical disaster. His last historic performance was undeniably legendary, no question about it, but it came at a massive cost that very few casual fans truly comprehend. The immense damage his ribs and body absorbed in that war was incredibly severe. He's been holed up in a quiet, dark room, letting both his warrior spirit and his fractured bones slowly heal after a physical battle that would have easily ended the career of a lesser athlete. Every single morning is a brutal struggle for him, a fresh, painful reminder of the steep price you have to pay to carry that BMF title. But here's the thing, that intense physical pain is the exact fuel that keeps his fire burning. He's not looking for some easy, cowardly way out of his UFC contract. Gaethje is the rare breed of fighter who leaves a literal piece of his soul inside that cage every single time he competes. He's openly confessed that every single morning after a fight is a grueling battle just to drag his broken body out of bed. The constant tossing and turning, the unyielding physical pain, and the sheer psychological exhaustion of carrying that heavy BMF weight is a massive burden to bear. But the competitive fire inside his chest hasn't dimmed even a fraction. He isn't looking for a safe, easy payday or a soft retirement fight against some low-level opponent. He wants the exact challenge that scares the rest of the world. He wants the elite killer everyone keeps claiming is the future of the sport, just so he can step in there and violently prove that the present still belongs to him. That right there is the undeniable mentality of a true warrior. So when Justin finally decides his body is fully healed and ready to return, there's really only one specific name that's going to truly ignite his legendary competitive spirit. He's a real-deal fighter who holds immense respect for the official rankings and the daily grind of the sport. And he knows deep down that Arman Tsarukyan represents the absolute ultimate test of his combat legacy. Because if he can completely shut down the young, hungry lion who pushed Islam Makhachev to the absolute brink, his status as an all-time great gets cemented forever. It's precisely the kind of high-stakes, dangerous gamble that the highlight lives for. He doesn't want to fight just anyone. He demands to fight the man everyone perceives as the absolute best. And that is precisely why this specific matchup is the only option that makes any competitive sense for his grand return to the cage. Now, the stark contrast between these two fighting styles is what makes this entire thing so electrifying. You've got the chaotic forward pressure violence of Gaethje going head-to-head against the highly precise, elite technical mastery of Tsarukyan. It represents the classic striker versus grappler narrative, but with a highly dangerous modern twist, because Arman can absolutely trade on the feet, and Gaethje possesses elite defensive wrestling credentials when he is forced to use them. It's a chess match, sure, but it's a chess match played with massive sledgehammers where someone is guaranteed to get caught in the violent crossfire. Both of these men possess the terrifying power to end the entire night in a single fraction of a second, but they've also both got the elite cardio required to drag each other into deep, dark, suffocating waters. This is a guaranteed 5-round war waiting to happen, and the fight fans are going to be the ultimate winners. Make no mistake, Dana White has been tracking this entire situation develop with a highly calculated business eye. He knows the lightweight division desperately needs a massive, shocking spark to keep the global promotional momentum rolling while the rest of the elite contenders sort out their timelines. The winner of this contractually signed showdown between Gaethje and Tsarukyan instantly solidifies themselves as the completely undeniable next in line for that undisputed throne. It is a ruthless tournament of survival, and the BMF belt is the ultimate prize for whoever manages to survive the collision. The UFC boss absolutely loves a high-level narrative and the compelling story of the grizzled, legendary veteran taking on the dangerous, rising young superstar is the oldest and greatest story in all of sports history. This is exactly how enduring legends are forged and how massive athletic legacies are completely destroyed in an instant. The global fan base is already heavily split right down the middle, fiercely debating the outcome. One passionate side firmly believes that Gaethje's legendary power will be too much to handle, while the other side is convinced the young contender is entirely unstoppable. If you want to stay ahead of the game on every major breaking update, contract signing, and massive fight announcement in the UFC, make sure to smash that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown. Now, I want to hear from you. Does Arman Tsarukyan's elite wrestling completely neutralize the champion, or does Justin Gaethje score another spectacular highlight reel knockout to defend his throne? Drop your exact predictions in the comments below, and let's get this debate started.